big day for Chelsea Clinton. Former President Bill Clinton's little girl will say "I do" to her longtime boyfriend, Mark Mezvinsky. Chelsea's wedding is very secretive, but this is not the first time that a former first daughter has walked down the aisle in the public spotlight. Here to talk about other notable first daughter brides is Doug Wead, author of All the President's Children. Doug, great to see you today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, this is a huge deal. The American public, the closest thing that we have to royalty, we like to be involved in these things, and when the first daughters get married, we feel like we need to be there and have a seat in the wedding. But tell us about some of the other big weddings that have happened over the years. I thought it was very interesting, some of the notes you provided about Alice Roosevelt.
Yeah, that may have been the greatest social event in American history. She took the whole front page of the Washington Post, every square inch, and heads of state sent gifts. There was a color named after her. The #1 hit song in America was named after her and about her. So it was a huge event, probably the greatest social event we've ever had in our history.
All right, so let's fast forward quite a few decades to Tricia Nixon. That one, in the modern age, really took the cake.
It did. There were a couple of magnificent rehearsals. The two Johnson girls had been married. So by that time, the White House staff was very sophisticated at organizing these. And Linda Bird Johnson was married before 55 million people on national television. So when Tricia Nixon came along, she was a cover girl twice on Life magazine. She was beautiful anyway. And there were television specials at night when there were really only 3 or 4 choices back in those days. You had to watch Tricia Nixon on all the channels, and they were 2-hour primetime specials to give you an idea of how big these events were.
Now, interestingly, there's been sort of a pendulum swing back more towards privacy. We think about Jenna Bush, the last first daughter who got married. I remember they were so tightly controlled about even letting us know what was on the menu. There certainly were no TV cameras there. It was much quieter out in Texas. I mean, she was a beautiful bride. We got a few pictures released. But why now are these weddings a much more private affair versus primetime television specials?
Because of security. You know, as a parent, your #1 concern when your child goes off to a weekend party or a football game or to the grocery store is their security. And these presidents and their families don't want these beautiful young daughters to be on the cover of Perry Match and to be recognized all over the world and to be watched on television all over the world. So it's post 9/11. This is a different age, and privacy equates with security.
And you know, today we hear about things like possible no-fly zones and those kinds of things for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Why do you think that we as the American public feel like we have such an interest in that we almost deserve to know and see the pictures and know what's going on?
Well, you said it, Shannon, well at the beginning of this segment when you said this is our royalty. We have no royalty outside of these young ladies, so these weddings and of the young men, the sons of the presidents, become the greatest social events in our history, and some that kind of slip by us. Historians come back and revisit them and add interest to them with the details about the lives of these people and their parents. What I've noticed is the further away a presidential child gets from power, from the presidency and its power, then the less interest in the wedding. So you have this revived interest in Chelsea, partly, maybe cynically, because they're not done. The mother's the Secretary of State, and the career isn't over. So there is still that link. But Alice was a real high water mark because it was a first term. It wasn't a lame duck president. And she received so many gifts, Shannon, that they say when Alice Roosevelt died, her home on DuPont Center, that there were still wedding gifts that were unopened that were found among her effects.
Wow, unbelievable. Doug, thank you so much for giving us an inside peek at all these beautiful weddings. We hope Chelsea has a perfect day today. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, we don't have wedding pictures.